2025. Thank you all for coming out this evening. This is a new format for this night only because the theater has another show going on and they needed these tables. So I wanted to open up this evening to say happy 2025 and to say that it's occurred to me that it's only since last March that Bearville O'Hare and Riverside Theatre have been making these events possible, and they've grown exponentially, as you can see by the attendance, even though we have a competing event with McKee Botanical Gardens this evening, so it's really nice that you're all out here tonight. So what had started as a passion and as a volunteer effort for me has grown much, much larger. And you know, I really enjoy this work much more than my paying clients because you all say thank you so frequently and engage so much. And I think even elected officials, even when it's inconvenient, they appreciate what we do. So as this work grows, so does my time commitment. And so I've been struggling with how to make a living doing this. And everybody said, well, charge a subscription model or a membership fee. And I've never felt good about charging people to be engaged in the community. So that's how Bearville got involved. And that's how I'm really, really excited to say tonight we've got 4 new partners who are going to join the theater and Bearville in sponsoring these events. The first one is Edward Chenefay from the Boulevard Tennis and Paddle Club. He's going to be hosting 4 events with Mary Katrina and us. We've got Kimmy Coveney. I don't know if she's here tonight. She said she'd try and make it with Kimmy's Seafood Market and Restaurant. And Christine Hughes of Dale Sorensen, who's in Italy right now, who couldn't join us. And Morgan Reynolds, who is here with Beyond the Trend Marketing. Where is Morgan? So thank you all very, very much. Our next event will be Wednesday, February 26th. So I'll turn it over to Bearville and welcome to Let's Talk City and County Collaboration.
I can turn my phone off. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Happy New
Hello.
Year. Do you need a break from Christmas break and New Year's break? All right. Well, anyway, it's a treat to see you. So tonight, we, as Irina mentioned, we have John Coutinho, our mayor, available tonight, as well as Laura Moss. And so the last time we met in December, we had decided, why don't we just try more of a Q&A and have all of you, basically for it to be your evening, so you can ask as many questions as you like to the elected officials. So last December, which was just feels like a nanosecond ago, I had said, if you're brave enough to ask a question, why don't you come on up here and ask? And as soon as I said that, the whole audience just kind of chilled. I could tell nobody really was so keen to come up front. So long story short, I said, well, why don't I come to you? And I went downstairs and walked around with the mic. So I'm going to do that again tonight. So I'll be like a roving microphone. So that way you don't have to feel like you have to come up here. It's kind of awkward. And so I'll come to you. And so it worked last time, so we'll do it again that way tonight. And I anticipate you have probably a fair amount of questions tonight, but out of just curiosity, may I ask how many of you tonight are here for the first time? Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate that. And we hope to see you again. So thank you so much. I would like to share with you, since so many of you are new tonight, where you are. You are seated right now in Florida's largest producing theater. Riverside Theater is a nonprofit organization, and believe it or not, it's been in business now for 52 years, which for a theater is absolutely extraordinary as a nonprofit to have been in business for this long. And so now they're busy planning for the next 50 years. And I'm sure in the community you'll hear a little bit more about it. Now, what you may not know is the economic impact that the theater has. So let me real quick tell you that the theater employs over 100 locals. Most of them live, if not all, live in Indian River County. During quote unquote the season, they hire roughly 200 artists. Most of the artists that you see on stage actually audition for their parts in New York City. And Riverside has a terrific reputation in New York City, and the young people love to come here. Well, first of all, it's a no-brainer. It's January in Florida, and not in New York City. They have a nice place to stay, and they get to go to the beach. And this is really a nice place, obviously, to work. The theater also utilizes over 500 volunteers during the season, and spends roughly $12 million per year to operate a theater. And they're very judicious to try to spend all the money that they can here locally, so it feeds back into the local community, as well as the 100 people that they employ as well. The theater also supports roughly 100 local organizations. They donate tickets, season subscriptions, and they will also exchange in advertising. And so, on average, when a non-local attends the theater here, on average, that yields about $65 per person to the good of the order. So all the way around, this is a really good thing. And I'd like for you to meet Lori. Lori Collins is the general manager of the theater, and so we are most appreciative that they offer us this space. Obviously, without the space, this would be really hard to pull off. And the big bonus is there's a bar. And usually at 6:30, Lori tells me the bar is about to shut down. Everybody still grab a drink. Not tonight, right? Tonight you can drink till you can't drink anymore. And very important, last but not least, the theater pays almost $2.5 million in salaries every year to these 100 local employees. So that's a little bit about where you are. And so again, this is your evening. And as they used to say in the good old days, your nickel, so you can ask whatever is important to you. And if you read Let's Talk Vera, you may have participated in a survey that Irina had prepared. And I'm just cherry picking now because she asked, I think, 15 or 18 questions. So the question that most of people had the highest percentage of answer was a leading question, but nevertheless, it says, do you believe the tourist development tax revenues generated in Vero Beach should be more equitably shared with the city for mutual beneficial projects? And the response rate was yes, 87%. So that question by far clearly said, yes, of course we want there to be an equitable distribution of resources. And then the other question she asked that received the second highest response was this one. It says, or asked, there are roughly 170,000 county residents compared to 17,000 city residents. Yet city taxpayers often subsidize amenities used by both groups. Do you believe taxpayers are unfairly burdened with funding amenities used by non-city residents and tourists? And 72% said yes. So, but if you'd like to take a look at the answers of all the questions she asked, it is on the Let's Talk Bureau website. And I know there's been a lot of, near term, a lot of publicity about Humston and the boardwalk. And so, just coincidentally, these are my own photographs, these are my own pictures, and I used to have these hanging up in my office. But this is Humston, how it used to look. And I don't know the date of it. The Vero Beach Library has, the library has a historical section. And I pulled these photographs in 2012. I have about 50 of them that I had reproduced. And so I don't know where the historical section is now. So in 2012, it was on the second floor. And do you remember the microfiche? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I sat in front of the microfiche for like almost a week, and I tried to find 50 black and whites and colors of anything that where I would recognize Vero Beach or Indian River County. So that's where I found these colored ones. These are the only colored ones I found. And then later on, I learned these were actually postcards, and were then reproduced, and I blew them up. So anyway, so that's just kind of for fun. This is Humston, and over there I believe that's Humston as well. And then if you have time later on, you should look at that black and white and just read the caption. It's actually pretty funny. Or maybe I'll read it when I'll come down. But in any case, so we hope you have an enjoyable evening tonight and ask lots of good questions. And Mr. Coutinho, what do you think? Okay. And where's Laura? Oh, there's Laura. You want to come up already too? And then,
Here we go. I think this is on. Let me see. It's on.
it's on. Thank you so much. So do you want to sit? Do you two want to sit here? Wherever you're comfortable. You want to chat there for a while? And no, not at all, not at all. I like to stand too, and I like to have paper in front of me. I totally can relate to that, absolutely. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit, quick update on Three Corners?
Yes, we're gonna get update on Three
Okay.
Corners and mention something about what's going on with Hummuston.
Okay, that sounds great. And then we'll turn it over to Laura, because really Laura is our guest tonight, and she is available really for the majority of her time, not to minimize your presence, obviously, but we can sit here too and chime in. Anyway, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's really great to have Maribel and now some other individuals be sponsoring these get-togethers, because I found it to be very informative, both from my standpoint, especially when we do Q&As, and I think it's been very beneficial for our city. And we'll just start this off tonight with Happy New Year to everybody. So
Happy New Year.
2025 will be a great year for us. Again, a little chilly, at least chilly for us. But it'll warm up as always. So let's get to Three Corners first. The proposals came in on the 16th. They will, that's December, they're gonna be available for public distribution 16th of January. Ironically, today, we had a meeting at City Hall with the evaluation committee. And the evaluation committee essentially met to determine and get a full understanding of how the evaluation process will work, how the scoring system will work, and what the changes are from the last time we did this. We did learn, okay? Based on what happened the last time, we kind of went to school on it. We understand what we're trying, where the changes had to be made, where we believe the process could be tightened up. So that's what they did today. And they established the schedule. I'll give you what the schedule is now. It is on the website, and I know our website isn't sometimes the easiest one to navigate, but believe me, it's there. And it's under the Three Corners proposal process. So how we're gonna go is the proposals are in. We had our meeting today. On March the 4th at 1 p.m., the selection committee will be ranking proposals. Public meeting. Okay. It's a public meeting. The selection committee will then conduct interviews on March 24th. And those interviews are closed to the public. It's because of the confidentiality of each individual proposal, and not wanting necessarily for one developer or to learn from what the other person is presenting, so they may vary their pitch per se. Then the selection committee will then discuss the rankings post-interview and make a recommendation to City Council. And that's a public meeting. Okay. And everything will be advertised, everything will be on the website, so everyone will understand when they begin and when to come to City Hall for these meetings. Now, the original process we thought we would be getting as many proposals as we did last time. So the process was gonna go, from whoever responded, say 4, then the evaluation committee was gonna narrow the 4 to 3, which those 3 they were gonna interview, and then they were gonna recommend 2. Well, now we have 2. So, whether this process is gonna be changed to be streamlined in any way, shape, or form, kind of to be determined, but a lot of it is gonna be depending on the two consultants that we hired. PFM, from the financial standpoint, they're our financial consultant on many other issues within the city. They actually consulted us on one of our bond issues that will be coming out later this year, this year. And also Stantec, which is a national consulting firm for planning and architectural designs and construction. They're getting involved more deeply into the process to try to have it become more objective. And they will provide their input not only from a financial standpoint, but last time the financial calculations were based on whatever the contractors gave the city as what they thought was the construction cost. Well, now the construction cost and the viability of what they're proposing and how it matches up to the original the checklist in the RFP. And if you're interested in what the it's a real long checklist. It's on, if you're really into this, it's on page 30 of the RFP. If you like to take a look at the checklist, how they align and whether or not their construction costs are reasonable. Okay, and then when you calculate the numbers, it'll come out whether or not this is a viable proposal, and they will make their rankings based on that, and that'll be including the evaluation again. So, some exciting times for the Three Corners project. Looking forward to it, and stay tuned. Look at the, pay attention to our website. If you have any inquiries, contact your friendly local council person, and we'll try to get you the answers.
And we'll be sending out surveys too. We hope you will all participate. This one is more important than any survey I think that we've sent out in a long time. So we'll be sending out surveys too. Continue
Thank
close
you.
touch with everything that's happening.
Now, the other one is Honeston Park Boardwalk, and what's happening with the boardwalk. The city council had made a decision back in June of last year that we would replace the boardwalk with a walkway, and there were many reasons why we did that. One of them was actually based on what we believe is our fiduciary responsibility to invest the funds that the city gets in the best way for the entire population of our city. And those instances you have to balance, needs and needs. Needs for certain types of projects that may be more higher visibility versus needs that sometimes are hidden because you don't see them every day. They're everyday things that happen in our city, and it's the everyday maintenance. So we made that decision. Well, there's a number of individuals within our community who thought that we should, from a heritage standpoint, point ourselves more in the direction of replacing the boardwalk. And they contacted their friendly neighborhood council people, and they contacted in one way, shape, or form, and they made their opinions known. We met again. We being the city council, kind of gave a charter to our city manager, Monty Falls, to approach the county, whether that would give assistance to the county. And also, council member Carol brought up an idea of a hybrid boardwalk, something that could incorporate the idea of a walkway with the idea of a boardwalk. I think we had some interesting discussions about that, how that could be done. We also, I volunteered to kind of do a GoFundMe site. Okay. Which stimulated a lot of conversation. And I think it also stimulated a lot of thought process not only on the council, but within the community, because these things are public and these things, get around. And because of the momentum that was happening, I began a conversation with the Indian River Community Foundation. Pickering was the executive director there. And if we were gonna go and do a private-public partnership, where the city is going to stay with its decision of, which is in our capital budget to invest $1 million in the restoration of the boardwalk, it's in the budget. If we were gonna go there, we're gonna go to the county to participate, and the county is considering, if they made an offer, they made a proposal of $400,000, say, and which, if we went to the number 2 proposal for a boardwalk, which is a boardwalk similar to what is at J.C. Park, maybe with more concrete involved to make it a more permanent type structure, we would have to raise in the neighborhood of, let's just say, $2 million. So we would then, not the city, but through combination of the county and also the public, raise the additional funds to do that. So I feel comfortable with it, because from a fiscal standpoint, because we're not going into city reserves to get the extra money. We're gonna do a private-public partnership. So when I approached and had a discussion with the foundation, they verified, of course, everything I was saying, which is the right thing to do. They verified things with the county. They had the discussions, and I'm pleased to announce that the foundation will support our efforts. So not only will they support our efforts, if you go on to their website right now, you'll see Save the Homestead Boardwalk. They already have us on their website. Okay. Now, there are some sheets that we have here. It's of the various and sundry ways that you can invest in our boardwalk through the foundation. And that's why we went to someone like the foundation, because they know how to do this, okay? They know how to raise money. It's a 501c3, so it's tax deductible, and they know all the various ways of raising the money and how to take the custodian of those dollars and how those dollars get distributed. And I think they have the confidence of our community based on the work they've done in the past and the different 501c3s they support. So right now, that effort is beginning. They will collect the private donations to be distributed to the city of Vero Beach to assist in the rebuilding of Homestead Park. Now, one caveat to this whole thing, everything is subject to the approval of city council on our city council meeting, which is next week on the 14th. To approve we don't even have to get into an agreement, we just have to have a proposal and approved by the city council to go ahead and do this, a resolution, I should say. So that's, I think, exciting. We are looking forward to this. This, to me, is what this community is all about. You know, I think we all attest to this. We live in a very conservative community, especially when it comes from a fiscal standpoint. And when we try to maintain our budget here to try to keep that conservatism in our policies as we look forward, this is great. This is a true private-public partnership. It's something I think that we can, as Indian River County residents, Vero Beachites, that we can be proud in the fact that that's how we're going to do it. And I'm looking forward to working with the various parts of our community and getting these funds raised. We've already actually have some commitments from Councilman Carroll, Councilman Foss, some other, council people, some private parties. Even without the county, I think we've got $175,000 one way, shape, or form already, already pledged in one way, shape, or form. So, looking forward to it. Again, if you want, there's some handouts, and I'll answer any questions on. Do you want to do the questions later, or?
You know, if that's okay with you, because I think Laura
Yeah.
is probably going to talk about some of this as well. Is that okay with all of you? Because Laura put a lot of time into presenting.
Thank you.
Put a lot of time into trying to share with you some information as well. So we thought maybe once Laura has shared with you her updates, then you can go at it. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Laura Moss, County Commission and former mayor, City of Vero Beach. Thank you for being here, Vero. Let's talk. I'm gonna follow up, I'm gonna get into the different projects that the county is working on right now and speak about the centennial, but since it's fresh in your mind, I thought I would talk about Humeston for a minute. Perhaps you know that the county committed to provide up to $400,000 for the project. At that time, it was envisioned as a sidewalk, not a boardwalk. Myself, and I'm speaking only for myself and not for County Commission, I see it being a boardwalk. And I see it as infrastructure, tangible infrastructure that supports intangible infrastructure. And what do I mean by that? The boardwalk or sidewalk or roads, bridges, anything, it's infrastructure, supports the community, and it's easy to fix. Intangible infrastructure is what our community rests on as well. And by that, I mean sense of community. A boardwalk is a place where people look to congregate and share with each other. And I think other people have talked about that as well at different meetings. I think it's so important. Sense of community really is key, and I think that's why people are attracted to this place. And people are very passionate and involved in issues, and it's just important to preserve that. Don't diminish that in any way, in any small way, and don't ever take it for granted. Because you think about it, you can fix a road or a bridge, you'll get the money somehow or other, and we're seeing that. But what we've seen around the country is when sense of community, when that intangible infrastructure breaks down, it's practically impossible to rebuild. So I think we need to be so careful about this. I think it should be a boardwalk, and remember, I'm speaking only for myself. I think it should come from tourist tax, and that's not in any way to diminish the generosity of any individuals. I think that that's a wonderful thing, and again, that sense of community, that sense of place. That being said, I think that it's a governmental responsibility, not the responsibility of the community to raise money for the boardwalk. And think about it, you need to be careful about this, because the way I see it, we're establishing a precedent then, that if we have something that we need to fund and we're running a little short, then we expect, individuals to chip in, if you will. So I think, to my knowledge, and you can chime in if this is incorrect, but I think it's the first time that we're doing this for a very large project. So I guess I'm not discouraging it. I think it should be what the people want, and I think it should definitely be a boardwalk. Just, you're all old enough. There's a song, you probably remember it, Under the Boardwalk. It's not under the sidewalk. I rest my case. I was researching with the help of my new assistant, if she could stand up for a moment, Tressa Brewer, and I think she handed out 2 things to you tonight. I was researching tourist tax. I'm going to just speak about it for a moment. It's something I've been researching actually since I was on city council. Tourist tax was a referendum that was passed. I'm going to read it. Now, you're familiar with referendums. You just had a few here in the city of Vero Beach that you voted on. So you know the language has to be very succinct. So the question that was posed on the referendum was, shall there be a tourist development tax of 2%, this was back in 1987, 2%, should there be a tourist development tax of 2% levied pursuant to section 125.0104 Florida statutes? And that was it. That was the referendum. So this was voted upon on March 10th, 1987, and for the city of Vero Beach voted separately from the county, okay? Or at least they were counted separately, I should say that, but I got this from Leslie Swan, our supervisor of elections. So at that time, in favor of tourist tax, 1,922 people, and against tourist tax, 1,206 people. So tourist tax passed and was enacted. And at that time, this is similar to, in a sense, to Three Corners, in that when they voted on the referendum, they had to have a plan for how they would spend the tourist tax. So at that time, it was a 2-year plan, and their projected revenue was just over $500,000. And again, this dates back to 1987. It's now up to $20 million a year, just so you know. So this was back in the day. And we're at 5%, not 2%, and we're just about to go to 6%. That was passed. And that also was a referendum. But that being said, at that time, this was back in 1987, the plan that was submitted with the referendum showed pretty much an equal distribution of the funding. Because it was divided into 2 districts. All right, District 1, and this is not my opinion, this is just fact, it's the history of it. District 1 is the city of Vero Beach only. City of Vero Beach. District 2 is everything other than the city of Vero Beach. Okay, the city of Vero Beach is 13 square miles. The county is 617 square miles. The amazing thing is that half of that $20 million for the last 5 years, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that, but the $20 million is over the last 5 years. That's the amount of tourist tax that has been collected, and about $9.5 million over the last 5 years comes from the city itself. Just the city, 13 square miles. Remember, there is a test after this, so I hope you're paying attention. And the other 10.5 comes from the whole rest of it, the 617 square miles. So I think it should be used, and by the way, it can be used. I'll explain one more thing because I don't want to spend the whole evening on it, but just to be aware of the facts. These are just facts. So it shouldn't be too scary. But I just feel that should be respected. I mean, that's what people voted for, and that statute that I said, 125.0104, allows for the funds to be spent on beach park facilities, which would be boardwalks and things like that. It's allowed. The county, for whatever reason, and this is not to disparage any of my colleagues, because this happened back in the 80s, so I don't even know where these people are necessarily, but that the county ordinance does not include that. To state it very simply, it does not include beach park facilities, so it was left out. So this is something perhaps as a legal remedy. I've been promoting it for a while, but it hasn't, I don't think it's gotten the attention it deserves because it needed something like this to bring it to a head. So now we're there. All right, enough of that. I'm gonna, a lot of people I learned just moved here not that long ago. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit more about the county. I started on Vero Beach City Council in 2016 as the mayor. So I started at the top, there was nowhere to go, but Double County Commission. Now I served 2 terms on City Council, started as mayor, served as councilwoman, and then closed out as vice mayor. And what a wonderful experience that was. I loved every minute of it. I did have to run for office 3 times in 4 years, but I go everywhere anyway. I just hate paperwork. And my office is always the messiest, no matter where I am, whether it's City Hall, County Commission, yes. Tress is gonna help me with that. We'll see. No, God bless her. So happy she's here. So I had 4 years on city council, 4 years on county commission. I'm just beginning my second term. And for those of you who don't know, there was a write-in candidate, so my name was on the ballot in August and then again in November. And I got almost 80,000 votes in November, so maybe a few of you out there voted for me. I just want to say thank you. And that's very sincere. I want to say thank you. Because I love this. I love what I do. I love this place. You know, my only regret is I didn't do it sooner. You know, I mean, who knows? I mean, God. I never thought about this as a child, by the way. You know, for the record, I never thought about elected office. In fact, I got into it because someone said to me, "You should run for office." And I said, "I hate politics," because I do. I mean, my family never discussed it. I don't. If you know me, I don't discuss it. I hate politics, and the person said, "That's why you should run." Because politics is not my religion. I have a religion. I don't have to argue about ideology. It's open to ideas and all kinds of perspectives. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love what I do. And with regard to the county, we're coming up to our centennial. And I'm going to take a minute and just explain what the county is, because I get this question. A lot of people have just moved here. There are 3 cities in the county. That's Vero Beach, where we are right now, which is the county seat, Sebastian, and Fellsmere. 3 cities, 2 towns, and that's Indian River Shores and Orchid. And then what is called the unincorporated, that's the rest of it. The Swiss cheese, the municipalities are the wholes, and then the cheese, that's the rest of it. I don't like that name. It's not as, it's like in the realm of 3 corners. I think we should call it something else, because anything is usually unappealing, unkempt, undone. I think we need a better name for it. But anyway, that's the official name. So the county, as I said earlier, is 617 square miles. It's got about 22 miles on the ocean, but it's got 100 miles of waterfront. And that's our precious lagoon, which we know about, because a lot of us use the lagoon, enjoy the lagoon, live on the lagoon. It's a great thing. So there are 5 of us on county commission. There are districts, and recently, in 2020, as you know, every 10 years, the federal government takes a census. So in 2020, about 20,000 people have been added to the population of the county. It was around 150, now it's closer to 170. But each of us, you divide the population by 5, because there are 5 county commissioners. So when there's an addition to the population, that also gets divided by 5. So each of our districts grows. It just has to be contiguous. In my case, District 5, and we're in a small county. I mean, we are relatively a small county. So I go everywhere in the county. I didn't even know where the confines of my district were until I got elected. When I get into it, people would come to me and they would say, "I have a problem, but I don't know if I'm in your district." I'm like, "Oh, that's all right. It doesn't matter. Just tell me your problem." And that's just the way I've always operated. But my district technically now includes Grand Harbor. It's either side of the lagoon. I'm the lady of the lagoon. So it starts on the south at the border with St. Lucie County, and it's either side of the lagoon to US 1, and of course the ocean on the east, and then it goes north to 510. And each of the other 4 have other areas of the county to focus on. Because we do get a lot more, one difference I notice between city council and county commission is I get a lot more questions, actually having to do with infrastructure. I get a lot of questions on roads, road repair, drainage, flooding, and they're almost all infrastructure questions. So, but it's been very interesting. Now we're getting into a lot more policy. As you may know, we hired a new county administrator that was a little bit more than a year ago, Mr. John Takenish, and he's got quite a number of projects. I grew up in the era of memorization, no open book test. But that being said, we're working on so many things right now, I'm going to rely on a list, because we're doing so many different things. Some of them have already been completed, and that's the strategic plan and also the Indian River Lagoon Plan that's been completed. Compensation study was just completed. We wanted to be sure that the county was competitive in terms of pay, so we did a study, which had never been done before, and adjusted accordingly. So I hope now that we are more competitive. You want to retain good people. You know, a lot of organizations have that problem. We're also updating the comprehensive plan. We did the urban service boundary study, a Parks and Recreation master plan, which has been completed, and by the way, is a first for the county. Impact fee study, utilities. Utilities, you'll see because your utilities bill will be going up, you know, the water and sewer. They should have been raising it for the last 20 years. I think some of those Taxpayers Association, we have the president of taxpayers, Lance Lunsford's here. He's the youngest president of Taxpayer Association ever. They used to call it the Miser Award, and I think a few of the people who got it, you know, should maybe be returning it because they should have been raising the prices and they weren't. So the director of utilities, you know, has come to us recently and said, look, over the last 20 years, you raised the prices only 12%, and the index was increased by 200%, and this is unsustainable. So, you know, in a year, you don't have the funding to keep this viable. So you probably will see an increase at some point in your bill. And to go on with it, stormwater master plan, manatee protection plan, beach preservation plan, economic development plan. That I think will be really key to this, the economic development plan. And by the way, that's a new position that's being created. We're going to have an economic development specialist on staff. Some of the ways I think that we can work better with the city, other than, you know, this single project, or even the tourist tax, you know, if we ever come back to address that, and I hope that we will. But you know, results not guaranteed. I'm only one of 5. But that being said, some of the things are some of the ways I think we can work together. And actually we've seen it in the last year. Some of you may know that the waste management contract was a 10-year contract, and it ended. So we were renegotiating with them, and Indian River Shores partnered with us. So they were included legally as a party to that contract in all the negotiations. As you may know, and maybe some of you live there in Sebastian, that when they put out the RFP, they got only one offer, one response, that was it. So they had to go with that, and their rate was a lot higher. They did this about a year before our contract was up. But with the rate that we negotiated, now they're going to piggyback on our contract. So that's something, and by the way, Indian River Shores timed it so that their contract would end with our contract, so we could work together. And in retrospect, if the city of Sebastian, I know a lot of people up there are upset because they came to our meeting a year later to complain about the year before. So that's Sebastian City Council, it's all on videotape. So I don't give my opinion, I try to stick just to the facts, dragnet mode. But you know, that being said, you know, if we had that relationship, I guess I'll call it, if we had that relationship, we'd be working together the whole time, then Sebastian may have come to us and say, gee, when's your contract up? You know, ours is ending this year, when is yours up? And ours is up next year, so why don't we go in together, just the way Indian River Shores did? You know, change. I'm not sure about the legalities of it, how Indian River Shores did that, but they changed the timing of it to partner with us. So I would see better partnerships in that, businesses.
You know what?
Yes.
I just realized it's already 6:15.
Oh, okay.
And so we've kind of chatted for 45 minutes, and I thought maybe the next 45 minutes we could take, obviously, your questions. That's really,
Absolutely.
because you said so many wonderful
Love
things.
to.
You have a ginormous list of things that have been done and still want to be pulled off. So, who would like to start off and ask a question to either to Laura or to John?
Thank you.
So I love this number, 10.2 million. Is it distributed annually?
Is this on? You can hear me, okay, thank you. That was over 5 years.
What happened to that when
The tourist tax goes to the state, okay, it's collected by the county. I believe it goes to the state, then I think they take a little bit of it, take a little bite, and, and then send it back, to the county. So it's spent on tourist development, on, beach renourishment, and in the last, I think it's almost 10 years now, on, Dodgertown. There was a contract signed with Major League Baseball to refurbish, the entire Dodgertown, area. So that's where it has been spent.
Can you tell us
to date.
last year, what happened last year, for example? About
Well,
the distribution of funds to
Those,
It also goes to fund the Indian River Chamber of Commerce is funded by them. Sebastian Chamber of Commerce is funded by them.
Coastal
There's a
Protections.
Indian River County Sports Authority that's funded by them, and.
Coastal Connections.
So and those are, yearly expenditures that are funded out of the tourist tax. And then, of course, the beach renourishment referred, like, Commissioner Moss had mentioned, and, various and sundry projects that people will actually make, an application for.
yeah, the mayor's correct in that, and that, those different agencies, the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, Sebastian Chamber of Commerce, that falls under tourist development. So I was just giving you the broad categories, tourist development, beach renourishment, and then there was this refurbishment of Dodgertown, which I think is about to drop off, because that extra, penny, or the extra percentage going from 5 to 6%, that was for the purposes of beach renourishment, which is incredibly expensive. So we don't have really, routine maintenance. Our maintenance is, it's when there's a hurricane, it is so expensive, and we request and receive quite a large sum from, the state and the federal government. I mean, there's no way that, the county could renourish beaches at this point. Back in 1987, they could do it, but, we can't do it. In fact, what I was telling you about 1987 with that, 500 grand over 2 years, almost the entire amount is going toward beach renourishment for the city of Vero Beach. I mean, the half that went to the city of Vero Beach, almost the whole thing. Only, I think it was 30,000 was going to the Chamber of Commerce. So it was on a percentage basis, it was very small.
You have another question right here.
Thank you. With the recent renovations and potential updates to the Homestead Park Boardwalk,
Yes, sir.
what can you talk to us at all about the impact of timing now?
Sure. Once the city council passes its resolution, the clock will begin to tick. We will have to go into a design phase. City council will have to, part of the resolution is we have to give instructions to the staff that we want to go to a boardwalk. Because remember, we have a resolution that sits on the docket, that sits on the books, that says we're going to a walkway. So first we're gonna change that, then we'll then pass another resolution to work with the Indian River Community Foundation. Then we will, the monies that are sitting in everywhere that have been pledged by email, et cetera, will start coming in. In fact, the website's already set up. Indian River Community Foundation can accept the monies, but everything really officially kicks off once these resolutions get passed. And then we will target the boardwalks. Now, the boardwalk being built. The caution here is that the only thing we have now for the boardwalks are estimates. We haven't RFP'd this. We haven't sent it out to construction, to any set of firms to give a quotation. So there's going to have to be some flexibility on everybody's part here, cities as well as the citizens, and understanding what the final number comes in. And we've already had these discussions with the county. We already had these discussions with the people who are going to help us raise the money. And from my standpoint, differs from the commissioner's standpoint is that we can talk about what we should be doing with the tax money, tax money, what could be done if that, you know, if a woulda, coulda, shoulda. But from my standpoint, when you're managing a city or helping to manage a city or give guidance to the staff, it's the cards you were dealt at the time you get the hand. Not what will happen sometime in the future if you sue the county commission to get your money, or you go to the state legislature to have something change, or somebody has an epiphany at the county commission. We were dealt a certain set of cards. Here's a certain set of cards we've got. We need to replace a boardwalk that was wrecked out by a hurricane. We waited for FEMA money, and FEMA gets involved, and when anybody deals with FEMA, they are not the fastest moving organization on the earth. We waited for their commitment, they made a commitment, and then they rescinded the commitment. Because they decided that that boardwalk was so old, it had no depreciated value. No matter what we believe that from a heritage standpoint, and then it had no depreciate. They don't look at it, you know, they look at it a fungible asset. To them, that was not a fungible asset. So now we as a city council, we have all other projects that we have to fund for the city. And we made a choice that was, we believe was the best choice. Based on the cards dealt to us at the time. Now, there's a group of individuals who wanted to preserve heritage, what they believe is a heritage site or whatever in the city, which is a boardwalk. And they got together and they did what citizens who have an objective should do. They contacted the people they elected, okay? Either directly or indirectly. And they said, why aren't you doing this versus this? You know, we have our argument why we did it. Some people disagreed, and from our standpoint, based on the circumstances, the only way we're going to bridge the gap and try to rebuild a heritage site of sorts is a private-public partnership. That's what we have available. We have a lot of other obligations within the city that are coming forward. You know, we'll be floating bonds in sometime this year for the wastewater treatment plant. There's reserves that we have to have on hand when we float bonds. There are other demands on our infrastructure that have been sorely neglected that we have to address. There's issues at Hummerston Park that we have to address. Some of it will be paid by insurance. It has to do with the hurricanes. Some of it is just neglected infrastructure of sorts. So to be fair, I think we're going in the right direction. So I hopefully that answers your question or somewhat. I mean, that's what we're going to be doing. Final design isn't here yet, but we're going down that plan.
I think I read somewhere that the county originally intended to put in 400,000, and then I thought that had gone down to 43,000. Is that correct, or?
Are you asking about the county commitment? No, that hasn't changed. It was, we said we would go up to 400,000 at the time. What we were voting on then was the sidewalk. So I don't know how that will be revisited, but we both meet the same day, as it turns out. Usually, by the way, County Commission meets the first and the third Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m. And I think City Council is what, the second and fourth? The second and the fourth. Is it at 9 or 9:30?
Traditionally 9:30.
Okay, so City Council, so it's staggered, which wasn't always the case. City Council meets at 9:30 on the second and the fourth Tuesdays of the month. We meet on the first and the third. This month is the exception because we have the holiday. So we'll both be meeting the same day, and maybe both have, I don't know, you have it on your agenda.
It'll be on our agenda.
I think it's gonna be on both agendas, so, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a little awkward right now because I don't think, the county should dictate anything to the city. The city doesn't need the county's advice on this, they're just looking to be a partner for the funding. So I think it would be helpful if we knew, exactly what the city wants to do. And then we can, I stand firm in the commitment, but I can't speak for the other four. It's 1 to 5.
So it was 400,000?
Up to 400,000
Up to 400.
from the county. Yes.
What about for boardwalk?
I'm sorry, what?
If it were boardwalk, would it still be?
Well, at the time, the proposal was a sidewalk. Technically, that's what we voted on, was a sidewalk.
Can I agree with Commissioner Moss's position on the tourist tax. There is some precedent here that I think would be a bad precedent. I think it borders on tacky, going to a GoFundMe, asking the citizens. I think we have a mixture of people here. We might want to take just an informal survey of this so that when the council meets, I think they have a real picture of what the community wants. Because I have a feeling, I could be wrong, so if we vote wrong, that the community might side more with Commissioner Moss's position. So I think maybe before your meeting with the council, maybe we could give you.
By the way, then, I appreciate what you're saying, and I do think tourist tax are a good goal, but I'll give you just a minute, John. I think
I'll address this.
If we do it the way you would like us to do it,
And by the way, I'm not saying what Commissioner Morris is saying is incorrect. You'll never get a boardwalk. You will never get the boardwalk. This is a systemic issue the city has with the bed tax. It goes back long before any of us showed up here. Now, the county makes the rules in distributing the bed tax. That's how the law was written. They interpret the rules a certain way. That's why they distribute it. Now, this is only one of 4 counties that doesn't allow a municipality to apply for it. Never mind, give it to us. But that's beside the point. That's the cards you got, okay? I can't change those cards. You can't change them now. It only can be changed by the county, by whatever vote they would want to take. Or if someone's successful in lobbying Tallahassee to better define the law. That's the only way it's gonna change. Or we sue and then some court somewhere makes a decision that forces the county. But though, as you know, a lawsuit would take years. Getting Tallahassee to change something is taking years. So if you wanna wait for us to raise the money that way for the boardwalk, we got a long way.
Might the county want to hear what the community
And working with the Indian River Community Foundation, which is a stellar organization, and there's 1 or 2 501c3s here who are sitting in the audience here who will tell you, they're a stellar organization, they're professionally run, they deal with these types of issues and 501c3s in general throughout the county. They have a wonderful reputation, not only in the county, state, but nationally. Yes, a GoFundMe site you can't do for a lot of reasons in government. But having an organization like this step up to work with us shows the fact that it's a community benefit. They believe it will be a community benefit, and they believe with their own internal polling of clients, they have ongoing clients. I believe they manage over $100 million worth of funds in general. That there's an interest in preserving the boardwalk as part of Vero Beach, the city's heritage. So that's why we do it now. Yeah, okay, there are better ways to do it. Sure, you'd love to fund it through the bed tax or any other tax for that matter, but that's not where it would just take us too long. And it's where we are.
There are quite a few more questions. This gentleman, I think, has and I think
Thank you. Laura, could you clarify your comment about the county's commitment or interest in funding up to 400,000? The understanding is that would be reduced by the same amount of any private funding?
Up to 400,000, excluding FEMA grants or private grants, but I don't think this is viewed as, and I've asked the county attorney to clarify that, so I hope that will be, if it is on our agenda, I don't have our agenda yet, it'll be out on Friday. Our website, by the way, is indianriver.gov, and the city's covb.org. I encourage everyone to check, just take a quick look at the agenda, every single one. I mean, it takes just a few minutes of your time, and even if you can't attend the meetings, they're all videotaped, and your emails make a difference. They really do. But just, send an email. It's easy to do on the website, indianriver.gov. We redid that whole website, so it's a lot easier to use than it ever was. Or covb.org. I send it to the city clerk at the city, and she will distribute it to all 5 council members. But yes, it's up to 400,000.
But just to clarify, so any
Right, minus FEMA, but FEMA was going to be,
private funding,
FEMA was
like we're
like
talking about
80
this,
something.
we're talking about the private funding initiative that's being talked about right now.
I don't think that would be viewed as a grant, but I would prefer that the county attorney, and I've already asked her this question. I've already sent it, and received a response, which was, well, you know how attorneys are, it was a little, and if you're one, I don't mean to insult you, but it was, it requires further explanation. Is that diplomatic enough? I did ask that question, because people, I understand, people are not gonna wanna give money to the county to
Exactly.
reimburse, they want, and I said that in my email, so it's in writing.
Thank you. I think
They don't wanna support the county, they wanna support the project.
It would be good to clarify that.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, I've asked the question, she's answered it, and I'm gonna get further clarification.
Yeah, very good questions. I'm with Barbara, I think so. I'm gonna go to someone that hasn't asked a question yet. Now, I'll come back.
Hi, how's it going? Excuse me. So you guys mentioned, the mayor, you mentioned that the potential estimate for this project is somewhere around $2 million?
2.1.
2.1, okay.
But it's only an engineering estimate, caveat.
Fair enough. So you mentioned earlier too, just to confirm, that you guys have up to $1 million in the capital balance?
We have allocated in our capital budget $1 million.
Okay. So with that, in addition to the $400,000 from the county, I just want to confirm, so you guys are looking to come up with through?
And we have, right now, from just this effort, the same word of mouth, for lack of a better word, began with Councilmember Carroll, and then Councilmember Boss, they made a mention they would pledge some money, and then we've gotten some emails directly to our city manager pledging money. We are about $175,000 above that number at this point. Without a formal campaign being launched or, in that type of thing.
And just to clarify, that's above the $2.1 million estimate, or in addition to that one?
No, that's, just look at the project for now, just for lack of a better number, I'd say $2.1 million. Right now, the city has $1 million of that 2.1 allocated in a capital budget. There's, county commission is going to be meeting on 400,000. And also there's various and sundry commitments from people who heard about this in the press, made some approaches. One individual made an approach with one of our other council members not here tonight, Taylor Dingle, and they made a verbal approaches. A couple of them have already contacted the foundation, and that comes to $175,000. So you got, say, $1,400,000 and 175. So you add them all together, what's that? 1.575.
Okay, and with that, do you believe that Indian River Community Foundation is in a position to close that gap to the $2.1 million estimate?
In our conversations, they believe they can do it. Okay, now, the proof is in when you go to execute, But they've already put up the website. If you go on their website, you will see a Humeston Park Boardwalk Restoration Fund sitting right there. It's the first click as you get there. And they'll explain how you can make the various and sundry ways of donating money. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, real quick, maybe I should mention to all of you a little bit about the Community Foundation. I don't want you to think it's just this bucket of money, quote unquote, for the community. The Community Foundation started here many years ago, basically for people that lived here in the area. If they wish to leave some of their assets to a nonprofit, that was the vehicle of choice. I mean, that's why the Community Foundation started here in Indian River County. They wanted to have a community entity that could receive dollars through decedents' estates, and then those dollars could then be distributed in the community. So there are some folks that decide to leave some of their dollar to the Community Foundation, either via their estates or their IRA account, and they'll say to Jeff Pickering and that organization, they say, you may use your discretion where you wish to allocate this money. Or they'll say, I only wish to use it for childcare, or I only wish for it to go to United Way, etc. So in other words, so that the probability that this $425,000 can materialize is a reasonable probability because of all the money that the foundation has received, and they're simply a custodian for that money. Some of that money they have the mandate or the discretion to allocate to what they believe is a reasonably good community effort. So that's, you know, a very big picture, generic definition of the community foundation. And so, having said that, I think this young lady raised her question, right? You want to?
I think you got a little shot.
So this might be a very naive question, but it's my understanding that currently the city of Vero Beach does not have its own sales tax to help contribute to the city budget. Is that something that is even worth talking about? No, not at all. Okay. I rescind my question.
Am I allowed to go? Oh, okay, very good. Okay, so Laura, I just want to say that that was brilliant. I agree with you about the boardwalk, but if anybody had any doubts, you had us with the song, okay? The boardwalk is a wonderful thing to put in place as opposed to a sidewalk. But I have a suggestion and a question from this lady behind me. My suggestion is, with the Heritage Center by the fountain, some of those bricks are donated, and there's these names of people. What about if we had, with each slat of the boardwalk, if people wanted to donate, and then we could have the names of the people that it's in memory of, because that would be very endearing with the community, because so many of us have wonderful memories and people that have passed on. So perhaps that could be a way to actually get more people motivated to donate. And this lovely lady asked if there was a minimum donation that can be made.
There's no minimum. Okay, that's it for this corner? Okay. How about this middle section here? You've been really quiet. Anybody here have any questions? Here we go.
Here you go, sir. I'm right behind you. Here you go.
Thank you. I had some concerns regarding looking at the high cost of this and the recurrent nature of damage from hurricanes, and thinking about minimizing the risk. It reminded me that the National Park Service had a situation on the Potomac River at Great Falls on the Maryland side. They have boardwalks which take tourists from the canal pathway out across several islands for views along the river. But often, frequently, regularly, the bridges on those were destroyed. So what they did is they put in a plan to make these sectionalized and removable. So now, when any situation arises that might threaten this, they simply go in and they pull out those sections and put them back after everything is stabilized, even if there's a little bit of cleanup. I'm wondering, because of the smaller scale of this boardwalk, if you're going into a design phase, whether it might be prudent to think about sectionalizing the boardwalk and making it removable. So that if a hurricane is targeting our area, very specifically, you simply lift it up and you take it inland until after the storm is passed. Now, you could have slabs of concrete or even synthetic wood to lay this thing as a foundation. If engineers think that's a feasible thing to do, perhaps for just a slight increase in cost, you could largely prevent future damage. It's just a thought.
Okay. I mean, we actually have a structural engineer on the city council, Councilmember Carroll. So we should talk to him, right? He's right there. Right? He made a mistake of showing up today, so you can ask him. He'll tell you all the reasons why it can or cannot be done. Right?
Anything can be done for money,
All it takes money.
Right, so, question, and I wanna go back to the woman behind us that brought the sales tax. And rescind the question. Because I don't think that you should have, I think that it was the foundation, the basis of a very good pivot point that maybe a lot of us aren't really grasping. And there are some foundational things that have occurred really far back, and Laura, this was a platform for you for years within the city. There's a giant disparity of income generated by our city tax dollars. There, is this cutting in and out of
This nice gentleman up there,
is that there's this giant disparity. The income generated by the city, who is already on a scrap budget, isn't being honored by the county, feels a little rapey to me, and that's a term I can't help but use. When half the budget that you have isn't coming back, and they have a project, and the offer on the table is, well, maybe we'll give you 20%. That's the feeling that you're picking up. And it's a question that's not being asked. And then being backed up by this gentleman here, sir, I think your question is brilliant. We bandage solutions so often to fix something. I love this picture. That's the 50s. That beach is 1/3 the depth that it used to be. We're never gonna have that again. Not without losing condos. So design solutions for the future are important, but this city can't sustain it without county support.
Absolutely.
And our tax dollars aren't a harem to be played with so you can do things in other places. We're asking for solutions inside our beautiful city that are creating income that the county is using.
Yeah, and I understand what the mayor is trying to do. Maybe, the city wants to do it right now, and that's really probably the best way to do it, because while I agree with you 100%, and yes, I've been working on this, at least since 2017, and that's sending letters, and I appeared before county commission when I was on city council, and put forth the argument. It's all on videotape.
So here's my question. I'd like your answer and your answer. As a room, what could we do to help facilitate that change?
To address it. The city council originally in June
had the answer. We approved a concrete walkway, which at that time was around $800 to $1 million, that would have the 2 pavilions, ADA access, maintenance access, at least 3 crossovers, and maybe or maybe not a new lifeguard tower. Okay. Now, and that was a walkway set at the current natural dune line, which we know dunes change, but right now, that's the natural dune line. That was a solution that turned out to be the most economically feasible, least expensive, I'm gonna put it that, cost effective, or most cost effective, right? It would be the least susceptible for catastrophic damage because it's only a concrete walkway. And would still offer some view of the oceans and people, because remember, this is a very short boardwalk. This is not the Con Beach boardwalk, okay, which is what, 1,300 and something feet long. All right, four laps, you got a mile. That's not here. This is barely a 300-foot boardwalk. Barely a 300-foot boardwalk. It's more a place to go and enjoy the beach, the view, meet with your family, have conversations, enjoy the environment, the aesthetic. But there is a substantial amount of people in the city who didn't want that. The city has a limited budget. We have other obligations that have a demand on that budget, okay? And we have certain access to revenues. And what do you do? So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Is that because you didn't hear from a giant demographic of humans that live in the city? Because they don't engage? You didn't hear from them? Is that correct? They didn't respond, they didn't write, they didn't know, because they're not engaged.
We run our city council meetings at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We try to engage, this is one of the, we've been doing this engagement for over a year now, right? Thanks to Barbell, thanks to Rita, we do this engagement, we have a lot of people here, we do coffee with the mayor, right? Which is this Friday, by the way. So we do all that stuff. But you still, you have 11,000 plus or minus registered voters in the city of Vero Beach. They don't all, people are very busy with their lives to pay a lot of attention to what's going on in government, okay? They elect us to kind of make those decisions. And then if it doesn't really gel with what they're thinking at the time, then you hear it. Believe me, we do hear. Okay, we do hear, good, bad, mostly bad, but we do hear. And then you make your adjustments. And that's what happened here. If you ecologically, environmentally, the sidewalk was the right solution. It's at the natural dune line. It doesn't necessarily propagate dune renourishment, but it doesn't act as a barrier. And guess what? Coastal Connection thought it was the greatest thing because now it's better for our favorite sea turtles, right? But not everybody sees it that way. Henceforth, the drive to build a boardwalk, and the boardwalk will still be at the current natural dune line. We're not gonna build a wall. We're not going to replace a wall on the beach. That would be like, my first car was a 1964 Pontiac Le Mans. That's like if I drove my car now, I'm going to go buy a 1964 Pontiac. You don't do that because life changes, times change, and it's not necessarily the right solution at this point in time. So to rebuild a concrete wall, which remember, the old boardwalk was a concrete wall that had a concrete sidewalk on the top with metal guardrails. Right? Am I correct? People live here, right? Okay. I'm right.
Seawall.
If you were on the beach and looked towards, it really wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing to look at. It was nice to sit on, to watch the ocean, but we're trying to adapt to where we are now, and we're trying to provide a solution, and that's where we are. That's what we're trying to do.
In terms of tourist tax, you can help send emails if you want to change that. I want to change it. I would change it tomorrow. if it were my decision and mine alone, which it's not, but send emails, attend meetings, county commission, speak out, the city, it just stands to reason. I mean, they set it up as two separate districts in 1987, and have been tracking the funding since that time for each district. So it was set up that way, I mean, for a reason. And if it hadn't been set up that way, then that would have meant they didn't want it that way. So they set it up that way, that to me indicates they did want it that way. But let me tell you one other thing. At the meeting where County Commission committed the $400,000, up to $400,000, I did, if you watch the video, I did speak about the tourist tax. And it just, there's, at that point in time, and understanding, or my understanding of what City Council wants to do, the timeline, in terms of the timeline, it's expedient. They want to do it now. So I figured I'm not going to get into an argument about tourist tax. I don't care for this project where the money comes from. It's not coming from tourist tax, the $400,000. They're going to take it from general revenue, and I think it was the optional sales tax, if I remember correctly. I didn't care. I just wanted to be a partner. I just wanted to get the money, So we did, because that was my understanding of the city's timeline. But a longer conversation and a much more meaningful one will be the tourist tax. So send emails, come to meetings, encourage your friends and countrymen to do the same.
All right. So also, it's actually illegal for the city to ask for tourist tax dollars of the county. So if that doesn't sit right with you, which, many of us maybe feel like we should at least be allowed to ask, you would have to.
Please repeat that.
We're not allowed to ask for tourist tax dollars from the county because the county passed an ordinance that says that municipalities such as the city of Vero Beach, or the city of Sebastian, or the city of Felsmere, or the town of Indian River Shores, they're not allowed to ask for tourist tax dollars because they said so. And that's why, right? Because they said so. So wait, I'm not done. So if that doesn't sit well with you, the only people that can overrule that decision would be your state representatives, Robbie Brackett and Aaron Grahl, who were just here on Monday to hear the wishes of the community for the upcoming legislative session. So if that doesn't sit right with you, which I can totally understand why it wouldn't, because that's something. So we should all email Robbie Brackett and Aaron Grahl because
And County Commission.
and County Commission, but them too though, for sure. Like, they can overrule, so.
I'll tell you why. And you probably could see it in that list of projects. Remember, these ordinances, the county, it was passed in the 1980s, all right? And by the way, that boardwalk dated back to that time when there was no tourist tax. And that might have been why it looked like it did. Pardon me?
That's not when the county passed the ordinance to not let municipalities apply.
In the 1980s, yeah. There were five different ordinances dealing with different things, and then most of them were in the 80s. So this goes back, my point is not that. My point is we are revisiting practically everything. And you can see that in that list, that we're taking a fresh look at everything with the new county administrator. So I think the timing is propitious. I think this is a good time. But that being said, we're already in for $400,000 on this project. So like I said, get the money. I wouldn't jeopardize it right now. If the city council believes that the timeline is such, you just need to get it done. Get it done. Take the up to $400,000 and come back and have that conversation on the tourist tax after this project. Get the money. I'm looking forward. Just the fact that we are partnering is a big step. I know that sounds incredible, and it's hard to believe, but honestly, it is. For them, they come from. That's been the history of the city and the county. It's unfortunate. That's why I got elected. That's why, that's one of the reasons. So help bridge that gap. So I think the city will
Laura,
come.
partnering is exceedingly important to everybody in this room. And when the county came up with the $400,000, it also came up with stipulations. And I think most of us in this room understand what the stipulations are. FEMA money, grants, and private contributions. To the extent that this money comes forward, that $400,000 would be diminished. It's a very, very bad precedent, and I hope it's retracted next week when you all meet. I also hope that you increase the amount from 400 to something larger. We all read in the paper, I guess it's true, that you just got $4 million from unused tax dollars, and it would seem to me appropriate that maybe some of these funds could go toward the boardwalk. But anyway, for sure, the $400,000, I hope that is clarified as a clear contribution without any stipulation. The stipulations to me were absolutely childish. I mean, really. Anyway, that's how I feel
Hey,
about it.
just to clarify on that one back, the constitutionals get the lion's share of the county budget. The constitutional officers, that money you're referring to is returned by the tax collector. They get the lion's share of the budget. County commission is about 20%, and if you look at it as a pie chart, it's a huge percentage is taken by the constitutional. So it's not really found money. Maybe it sounds that way, or it can be made. It can be made to sound that way. I understand that, but it's not. It's probably
Lori is our gatekeeper, and she said,
One more question here.
oh, yeah, 3 more minutes, Jane. Okay, here we go. I'm getting my steps in. I guess I should say that I'm the mayor's wife, so we'll put that out of the way.
Use the brains.
Anyway, so Laura, if I were you and maybe the rest of the city county commission, I would end up being embarrassed that I only gave $400,000 towards this endeavor. And you're gonna have private funding that's gonna raise like a huge amount of money. A lot's already been committed, and the city is putting in $1 million. And this project benefits the whole area. So that's sort of what I think a lot of people agree with me on this, and it's embarrassing. I'm sorry.
Maybe I hang out with a bad crowd. But honestly, everybody sent emails to my colleagues. I've already stated my position, and it's a matter of record since 2018. So, my position has not changed on this. The position we need to change is my esteemed colleagues. So, email them. But get this. If the city council has decided that this project needs to be done right now, I would just go with what you've got right now. And if you do the tourist tax, because I think that's what the mayor was alluding to. The tourist tax is a length.
When's the next county commission meeting that we can all show up at?
14.
Yeah.
What time did you say? What time is it?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at
9 a.m.
And that
we'll all
eliminates
go?
all the people that work in this county.
I just wanted to make one comment really quick, because it seems like that there's a demarcation between a county resident and a city resident. As a city resident, I'm also a county resident. That's right. Okay, you just need to keep that in mind. There's no difference between us. I am both.
As you know, we can continue the evening out in the lobby for as long as you like. There's things, or you can stay here. But I just wanted to say our next meeting is February 26th, and before then, someone we all know and love is having a birthday, and that's Bear Below Hair. And so please come over here and partake in cupcakes and say happy birthday to Bear Below. Thank you for your so wonderful event.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bearville. Happy birthday to